Good evening. I would like to call the February 26, 2024 adjourned Planning Commission meeting to order. Please note this meeting is being hosted through live stream on the city website and by teleconference via Zoom. I would like to remind the planning commissioners to have their microphones turned on in position so the audience can hear. Director Monique, may we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Clark,
Present.
Commissioner Ochoa,
Here.
Commissioner Hill,
Here.
Vice Chair Papp,
Here.
Chair Beamsterfer.
Here. Thank you. And now, Commissioner Clark, can you do invocation of flag?
Yes. Almighty God of heaven and earth, thank you for this opportunity to come together and work together. We ask for your inspiration and insights. We ask for your direction and guidance. We ask for your peace and harmony. May we accomplish great things tonight. May we display attitudes of cooperation and respect. May we rejoice in your company. Amen.
Amen.
Ready?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda item number 4 is the public comment period for those items not on the agenda. Are there any members of the public present that would like to comment on an item not on the agenda? Or on e-comments?
I'm just checking online right now for any attendees requesting to speak. I don't show anyone requesting to speak, and I did not receive any e-comments.
E-comments, okay. Agenda item number 5, approval of minutes from the meeting of February 6, 2024. Does the commission have any comments or corrections?
None.
None.
Ms. Hernandez, may I ask for a roll call?
Commissioners, please announce your vote when I call upon you. Commissioner Clark?
Present?
Oh,
Yes.
actually, we would need a motion first, and then we do roll call.
Oh, yes. May I make a motion for the approval of the minutes?
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 6, 2024.
May I have a second?
Seconded.
Ms. Hernandez, may we have roll call, please?
Yes, commissioners, please announce your vote. Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Ochoa?
Yes.
Commissioner Hill?
Yes.
Vice Chair Papp?
Yes.
Chair Beamsterfer?
Yes.
And that motion passes 5-0.
Is everybody hearing us okay? Okay, just want to make sure. Item 6A, site development review, tentative track parcel map and variance of Palm Villas apartment. Director Monique.
Thank you, Chair Beamsterfer, members of the Planning Commission and the community. My name is Monique Alanese Flater. This evening before you is a site development review, tentative parcel map and variance for Palm Villas. Just working the slide. One moment. The proposal is in alignment with the City Council's strategic goal of quality of life, to enhance the visual appearance of the community, to attract, utilizing vacant land to construct multifamily residential. The property owner is Palm Communities, as well as the applicant. The subject property is located at the northwest corner of State and Menlo Street on approximately 7.84 gross acres. This evening before you, the Planning Commission is provided with the authority to approve site development review, tentative parcel map, and a variance. And a variance is a modification to the approved design standards and regulations of the code. So the property is generally located at the northwest corner of State and Menlo. It is a vacant and undeveloped property that includes 6 parcels comprising of 7.84 acres. The property has a general plan land use designation of mixed use and a zoning designation of R3 multifamily residential, which allows for 18.1 to 30 dwelling units per acre. This is consistent with the mixed use land use designation outlined in our general plan. The Palm Villas at State is a 157 unit affordable housing community. The site development review application includes the development of 5 3-story family apartment buildings of up to 35 feet in height, a 2-story community building with manager's unit, and a single-story maintenance building. The apartment buildings will consist of a mix of 2 and 3 bedroom dwelling units ranging from 753 square feet to 1,003 square feet of living area. The project is going to be designed, as proposed, is designed in 2 phases. So the area highlighted on the screen is phase 2. Project design is going to be, phase 1 would consist of 109 affordable units and 1 manager's unit, as well as the biofiltration basins as part of the development, including parking and all associated improvements for the project. Phase 2 would consist of 48 units with one manager's unit. The project also includes a tentative parcel map to create 2 parcels and 3 lettered parcels from 6 parcels, and to dedicate a portion of the property to Riverside County due to an existing building encroachment. The application, the overall development landscape includes 41,742 square feet of landscaping improved with automated irrigation system. It would also include a combination of 36-inch box trees, 24-inch box trees, and 15 gallons with a variety of various shrubs and ground covers. Some of the open space amenities incorporates outdoor and indoor recreation areas for residents and guests to enjoy. Recreational amenities include not only the indoor community center, leasing office, but also tot lot and playground, and outdoor seating with umbrellas, bike racks, pet refuse stations, multi-purpose ball courts, and barbecue facilities. This is the proposed landscape palette. If the commission would like to take a look at the palette, it's just provided for your information. As identified, this will include 2 phases. So in the first phase of development, they are proposing 75 2-bedrooms and 34 3-bedroom units. Phase 2 would include 33 two-bedroom and 15 three-bedroom units for a total of 157 units. The architectural style is a type V wood frame with cement plaster exterior and concrete slab-on-grade foundations. The architectural style is modern and will include building facades, which are simple, square, and rectangular in nature. The elevations provide articulation in windows and balconies. Buildings are, the colors of the exterior are natural with accents in marina blue and Dunn Edwards cellar door. The roof eaves, parapets, windows, and recesses include iron railings and all trimmed with black tie. All buildings are garden-style walk-up with concrete slab-on-grade. This provides you with a little bit of information. This is the floor plan for the community room and the manager's quarters. Here's additional elevation renderings that provides elevations as viewed from the front, side, and rear angles of the elevations. These are examples of the floor plans that are being provided. These are the two-bedroom floor plans. They do include 2 bedrooms with patio, dining area, living room, and kitchen, as well as bathroom. This is an additional illustration of the two-bedroom floor plans. And here is the 3-bedroom floor plan example. So the project also qualifies as a density bonus project, and pursuant to Government Code 65915, it mandates that the developer is entitled to benefits if the project is affordable. Affordable is when the applicant is providing in accordance with the Health and Safety Code. The project provides 100% total units exclusive of the manager's units for lower income households as defined by section 50079.5 of the Health and Safety Code, except that 20% of the units in the development may be for moderate income households as defined in the Health and Safety Code. And with this, the applicant is afforded with concessions. The type of concessions that are being requested as part of this development include modifications to the city's private open space requirements. The project was evaluated in conformance with the city's R3, the multi-family development standards, in addition to the city's recently adopted objective design standards. And what they're requesting is modifications to those criteria when they evaluate it. That also includes modifications to the setbacks, balcony design, architectural features, parking reductions, and private open space concessions for the patio areas. The applicant is also requesting a variance to allow an increase in the perimeter wall height from the maximum of 6 feet per our standard regulations to 8 feet for security purposes. The findings of the variance are outlined in the staff report. I'd be happy to discuss that. The project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Public Resources Code section 21080.40 under Assembly Bill AB 1449, signed into law on October 11th, 2023. The findings for support of this government code criteria can be found in the staff report as well. As provided by the applicant, we have reviewed the analysis and concur with the findings of the analysis. On February 8th, 2024, the city gave public notice by advertising in the Press Enterprise and by mailing to property owners within 500 feet of the property prior to holding the public hearing. With that, I would like to conclude the presentation. It is respectfully requested that the Planning Commission adopt the Planning Commission resolution, attachment 1 of the site development review application, tentative parcel map, and variance, Exhibit 1B A through D, and Exhibit 1C through A through C, subject to the conditions of approval and provided in Exhibit 1A. Also, I would like to mention that since our last Planning Commission meeting, there have been some changes requested by the applicant for feasibility of the project. And a memorandum was provided to the Commission this evening outlining the amended conditions struck through and added in red. And I'd be happy to enter those into the record for the Commission. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for the presentation. Does the commission have questions, any questions for the staff?
I have questions, but go ahead. I know you have a lot, right?
We'll start over there.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Connie.
We all have questions, sure.
When was the traffic study done?
Yes, Commissioner Clark, there was a rendition. I do not have the email. I had sent an email out to the Commission that the traffic study was prepared and submitted to the city staff, the traffic impact analysis in January of this year. We provided our consulting traffic engineer provided a peer review of that, provided minor corrections to the document, and then it was resubmitted to staff with the clean version on February 20th, or was it either February 20th or the 19th, and that reflects the revisions as recommended by engineering.
It looked like there was one day, if you read the traffic study, in November. Is that what we did, was one-day traffic study?
A one-day traffic study? I would have to refer to the applicant's consulting traffic engineer for clarification on the details of the traffic study. Also, I did want to mention that we have been working with the applicant since early last year in preparing a scoping agreement, which identifies which intersections are analyzed for the project. From there, the traffic impact analysis is prepared, but the applicant could confirm.
Well, the traffic study was missing the addendums in the back. So, and is that where the scope is?
So the scoping agreement is an agreement between the city and the applicant on what intersections are analyzed and what's analyzed, and our Public Works Deputy Public Works Director, Assistant City Engineer is also here tonight to clarify any questions with traffic.
Well, it seemed that the traffic study was done in November. I want to say November 8th or 18th. And so are we still doing one day?
Okay, so the applicant's consulting design team, there may be someone on the line that could speak to some of the questions regarding the traffic analysis.
Hi, this is Bill Atkins, project architect. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. So I don't have the specific criteria of the scoping agreement, but I will tell you that the scoping agreement is a standard scoping agreement established by the city. And once agreed to as to the terms of the testing, the duration, the times of day, the number of days, and the locations for the testing, it is performed. I believe that what you're seeing is the peak day.
Well, I don't think I saw any time other than 1 day.
Yeah, I believe what the report is showing you is the peak, the day in which the peak traffic flow was recorded.
Okay. Mary Lanier, if Mary Lanier is available, if you could join us on Zoom and raise your hand on Zoom so we can unmute your microphone so that you can speak on behalf of the traffic analysis.
Hi, Monique.
Hi, Mary. There's a question that's posed by Commissioner Clark regarding the traffic analysis. The question, Commissioner Clark, we could have that question.
My problem with the traffic study, I'll just be blunt. State and Menlo is a pretty busy intersection. I was there twice today. Are we doing a right-hand turn only in the entrance and exit on that State Street?
Okay. I am checking the report right now on that, and I understand you did not receive the appendices. They are part of the report, and it did go through a level of service report for both for State and Menlo Avenue, and it did do the counts. And your question is regarding a right turn.
You are entering and exiting for this facility on State Street.
Correct.
That's a very busy street. You are in close proximity at that exit entrance to the light at Menlo and State. Today, in the middle of the day, there were 10 cars back. So my question is, are we right turning only so that traffic can flow better? Or are we going to jet out and take a left turn? Because that's a stoplight. That's a 4, and it's not just 2 going at the same time. If you sit there long enough, it is 1, and then another 1, and then the other 1, and then the other 1, and then we come back to the original 1. So I don't know how we're going to rectify that busy of just one entrance and exit.
I'll be able to get the visual, the map up there so we can see the streets that she's referring to.
Are you asking for further traffic analysis?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so let me
If I could just help real quick here, I just checked the distance from our driveway to the intersection is 598 feet.
Okay, if I may, just kind of cover the basis of the circulation and how this is analyzed. So the vehicular access, as Commissioner Clark mentioned, is going to be served from a 30-foot wide drive aisle on State Street. State Street is a secondary 4-lane undivided road with center median, and it has an ultimate right-of-way that the applicant is going to be constructing curb gutter and sidewalk on that, as well as additional bike lane. So there is a median, and it as I understand, there is no restriction for right turn only, which again I would need to confirm with the applicant's traffic engineer on that. But when the analysis prepared and in the staff report, what's required is a vehicle miles traveled analysis, and a level of service is in addition to that. In this being a CEQA exempt project, these are documents that are reviewed and peer reviewed not only by our city's traffic engineer consultant, but our CEQA third-party consultant that has analyzed the documents and has confirmed in the concurrence with the conclusions of the traffic report. So based on the proposal but based on the traffic analysis, even though level of service is no longer required to be analyzed, they did analyze that. They did analyze it, and that the project would generate 79 a.m. peak hour trips and 72 p.m. peak hour trips, which are very minimal in terms of the thresholds of significance for affecting the existing traffic conditions on State and Menlo. So with that, it's still going to be within the acceptable range for level of service, which did not trigger additional requirements for the intersection of State and Menlo. So there is, that I'm not aware of, that there is no restriction on right turn only on State.
So Monique, did you say that there was an additional lane that was a right turn only additional lane just for this facility? Did I hear that right or no?
It's going to be a right turn, a right in, right out, as well as somebody traveling northbound could also go into the median and turn into the left turn into the development. So it would serve both.
Okay, so if I'm traveling on State Street and I want to turn into this facility, I can merge over to the right and then through traffic would just go right by me.
Correct.
It's your call.
Yeah, you have a liquor store across the street that has in and out. You have Arco, in and out both ways. I don't agree that this is within the means, simply because I go by it literally almost every day. And that being said, you have the Valley Start, or the Head Start drug and alcohol. You've got pedestrians everywhere on that corner. Just today, by the time I had turned around, we had an ambulance and a police officer at the old Rancho Vet, and the traffic was backed up. So I feel like we are asking for trouble for anybody to come exit and entrance other than a right-hand turn. I just do.
Well, I believe it's if they were lead to the complex, the facility, it'll be a double line. Is it a double line there where they can't? They'll have to have a sign posted no left turn on the State Street because it's a double line, so it's illegal to cross over that. So they would just have to make a right or come out on Menlo and make a left on the State and go up State Street if they needed to.
Right. But you're not going to get, because of how many cars are sitting at one given time, 10 today, for instance. And so if someone wants, you've got a lot of people sitting within that 7 acres. It's not like we're talking about a, large development where they're exiting. You have a lot of people in congested area, and so coming out of there is not going to be easy. And then you've got all those pedestrians running around, dancing in the middle like today. So I have a problem with just one driveway. I just do. I think we're asking for trouble.
Any other, do you have any other questions?
No, go ahead.
No questions.
Monique, thank you for the presentation. That was good. I do have a question concerning how close this low-income housing number of units gets to the RENA requirement for our city. Do you have any numbers on that?
The total RENA is, mandated by the state for the city to plan within the next 8 years.
Mhm.
So as long as we plan for that between 2021 and 2029, that total is 6,466.
Yeah.
Of that, approximately is in the low income range, 1,400, maybe 1,600 of low income. So this is a small percentage, but
Yeah.
it's moving the ball forward.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
It is a small percentage, isn't it?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, my next question is, maybe it's for the applicant and not you, so I kind of curious, I know it has nothing to do with the motion tonight, but I was kind of curious of what the low-income requirements are for getting housing at this complex.
Okay. Yes, the applicant is here this evening.
And I can wait on that if that's,
Probably
Okay.
wait until we get
Okay.
a public.
yeah.
Any other staff questions?
Not for me.
Yes, I have a few. Okay. I've been doing this for a while as a planner. Some of you in the audience know that. I've worked on a few density bonus projects in my career and several affordable housing projects. And we're talking about new legislation here. And reading through the statutes can be cumbersome and complicated. There's a lot of internal references. One section of the code says to go to the Public Resources Code. Another section of the code says to go to another portion of the government code. So I have a few questions regarding the density bonus requirements for this project. My understanding of density bonus, and your staff report actually cited this particular section. I'll put the citation out there. It's section 65915F. And if I can, I'll just read this if you'll, the first sentence anyway. For the purposes of this chapter, density bonus means a density increase over the otherwise maximum allowable gross residential density as of the date of the application by the applicant to the city, county, or city and county, or if elected by the applicant, a lesser percentage of the density increase. Now, the new statutes go back and forth on a lot of different topics, whether it's 10% affordable, 20% affordable, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just curious if you can give us a breakdown of the new statutes and how it applies, and whether or not the project is required to meet the maximum density range for the zone prior to being called a density bonus project. It's my experience that you only get concessions if you exceed the maximum density for the zone, and this project does not do that. My next question relates to affirmatively furthering fair housing. I didn't see anything in the staff report. There's 300-something pages total between the two projects, so if I missed it, I apologize. But having recently sent a housing element for a certification review, I'm very familiar with affirmatively furthering fair housing, and I'm curious if the census tract in which this project is located is considered a disadvantaged census tract or part of a disadvantaged community. Because under AFFH provisions, we're not to over-concentrate affordable housing in a disadvantaged census tract. Now, I'm going to go out on the record and say I like this project, but I want to make sure that it's being processed properly. I think it's well done. I'm familiar with the applicant and their work in other locations
including here in the city of Hemet. But with all these new regulations, I just want to make sure all of our I's are dotted and all of our T's are crossed. My big concern here is that if this is in fact a disadvantaged census tract, we do have a mobile home park across the street that's, for lack of a better way of saying it, had some issues over the years. There's county offices where we've had issues with homeless people waiting for services. We have county offices next door to the ARCO that provide services for people who are mentally disabled or addicted to multiple types of chemical dependencies. We have a lot of issues in that area, and I just don't want to overburden that area with similar issues. In fact, it was cited in the staff report concerns about security requesting a variance for fence height to ensure security. So clearly there are some issues there of concern. The next concern I have about the project is the number of concessions that are being requested. Not necessarily concessions, perhaps, but deviations from the municipal code requirements. If this were not an affordable housing project, if this were a market rate project, there would be no variance, there would be no concessions for landscaping, parking reductions, etc. So one could argue that an affordable housing project deserves less in terms of amenities, landscaping, parking, I don't know about lighting and things like that. But some of the concessions that are being asked for would not be conceded to a market rate project. And it gives the appearance to some that an affordable housing project doesn't deserve the same amenities as a market rate project. And I want to ensure that anybody that's watching or is going to participate or has concerns about this project is going to find that this is a quality development and the same kind of development that you would expect out of any other developer. With respect to the community center, where do the visitors park when there's an event at this community center? Parking's already tight. You have a parking reduction on site. I didn't see a very large parking area anywhere near that community center. I think there was maybe 10 or 12 spaces available. So I'd like to know where they're going to park. And then my last question for now, and I may have some more later after I hear some responses to these questions. Why is the tentative map CEQA exempt? I understand that the project is being consolidated and brought to us as one, but does the Planning Commission have final approval authority on the tract map, or on the tentative map? And if so, it's 5 lots, if I'm not mistaken, which I don't believe that you get a CEQA exemption for that, and the map itself is not an affordable project. So I'd like an explanation on that. And I apologize, staff, I normally try to get these comments to you before hearing, but it's been a rough couple of days.
Okay,
That's all I have for now.
Thank you, Commissioner Pat. I will try to respond to a couple questions. I may need to defer to the applicant to discuss more of the affordability and the analysis for the density bonus provisions. However, you are correct. Density bonus in and of itself means that it would be an increase to the allowable density. So the current density on the property is 18.1 to 30 dwelling units per acre. In a traditional setting, density bonus means that they're going to ask for more density than would be allowed.
Right.
However, because this is a 100% affordable project, I had to double check myself that it does qualify under the state provisions as a density bonus project, which was, a surprise to me, but I did have to analyze that because that was one of the questions that was posed by the applicant. So on confirming that, they do qualify for the density bonus law provisions. But I would like to also ask the applicant to, further clarify the density bonus provisions. As far as the project being affordable in terms of the tentative tract map, we have made CEQA exemptions for if a tract map in this case is tied to this development that is an exemption, and it is very common that there are companion projects that go along with the master development application, and in this case is the site development review, as well as the variance request. The tentative parcel map is necessary for the development of this affordable housing project. With that, I would like the applicant, if they're on the line, the applicant's design team, or perhaps Mary Lanier or Mitch, excuse me, Mitch is with the applicant is here this evening, can answer some questions as well. So, thank you.
Most of my questions for the
If
applicant.
if that's okay, he can respond to some of the questions that have been posed, and if there are any other questions, I can try to answer them.
That's fine. Do I need to open up public hearing? Okay, we'll open up public hearing for the applicant. May I approach the podium?
Thank you and good evening. My name is Mitch Slagerman. I'm with Palm Communities. I'm going to try to answer your questions that I think I heard, and if I get them wrong, I'm sure you can restate them for me. So we were talking. There was a question about affordability. I'm not sure if that was yours or Commissioner Hill's on what affordability. Well, you asked a question about who's allowed to, or
What the requirements are
what the requirements
for
are.
an
So
applicant.
for
For an
the
applicant
renters.
moving into the
Right,
facility.
right. So all applicants have to be at or below 60% of the area median income for Riverside County. Median income for a family of four is about $85,000. So people would be at about 60% of that. That would be the maximum income. They can be below that, although the units are structured for residents between 30% and 60% of the area median income. So people could, in theory could make less, but they still have to be able to demonstrate that they can pay the rent. Now the rent is below market. And will range somewhere between the high 600s to the mid 1600s for a 3-bedroom so that's between the 30%
Right.
and the 60% AMI range.
Okay. And is there management on site to manage the facility?
There will be management on site, living on site, as well as we'll have staff working regular business hours, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. There's always an emergency line, so if there are issues, tenants can call that line to deal with problems that they may be having in or around their unit.
Okay. And then is there requalification requirements on a yearly basis or something like
Correct.
that?
That tenants are required to requalify or stipulate their income every year. If their income exceeds the level in which they were qualified at initially when they moved in, they are not. We cannot evict them, but their rent will go up to
Market rate.
to equivalent their 30% of their income. So that's kind of the goal of affordable housing, is that residents don't pay more than 30% of their income for a housing cost. And that's a federal guideline that has been adopted by the state and what we're having to work under.
Okay. Hey, thank you for answering my questions.
Sure. Okay. Commissioner Papp, let's see. I did write down community center. You were concerned about parking. The community center in this case, we're referencing the apartment community. And so that is a private community center. So that it's a club, if you want to call it a clubhouse or think of it as a clubhouse. We call it a community center, but it's meant only for the residents of the complex. And so we would not be holding events normally that would invite people in from the community to have an event like we had an event here at the end of January where there were 75 people to talk about this exact project. And we would not be having those types of events. It's not, it's a private facility, not a public facility.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I was under the impression that it would be open to the public on occasion.
It would be open to the public if not really public, but invitees, that resident, if, say a resident wanted to use the community hall for an event, say a birthday party for one of their children, they might invite relatives to that. So that it would be that type of event that we'd have. We also would have classes on site, but that again would be to help residents. It's a service that we would provide. So if residents needed help with computer skills or English as a second language, we conduct classes. But again, that would be for the benefit of the residents living on site.
Great, thank you.
Okay. So there were you had some questions, I didn't get it all down, about amenities and how those might be, how they're related to density bonus law. So if you'd like to repeat
Sure.
what you want, I'll try to answer that, and if not, I'll ask one of our consultants to help.
Okay, one of my concerns about it was, I understand the issue behind value engineering and keeping the project more affordable to keep costs down so that we can have lower rents.
Yes.
I understand that concept very well. But what I am concerned about is, typically when I've dealt with affordable housing projects, they've been sort of infill. It's not 100% affordable.
Okay.
So here we have a slightly different animal where all of the units are going to be, there are some design savings in architecture, there are some design savings in landscaping, less landscaping than would normally be required. Smaller private space balconies than would normally be required. The concern that I see is the appearance that a lower cost housing, affordable housing, isn't entitled to the same amenities as a market rate project. Meaning you shouldn't see a difference driving by the community. It shouldn't look any different than an apartment project next to it. They should have similar styles of architecture, similar amenities, similar amounts of private and public open space or common open space on site. And with the number of concessions that are being requested, I fear that it might stand out a little bit. So I'm just curious how we can ensure that this project doesn't stand out as, we want it to stand out in a good way. We don't want it to be like, oh, gee, kids, look, there's the affordable housing project. Now, I don't believe that would be the case, because I've seen your other products, and they're very attractive and they're very well maintained. Just want to, not only for myself, but public assurance that that wouldn't happen.
So I appreciate that your comment about you've seen our other properties, and that they're attractive, and I appreciate that. We take a lot of pride in developing and constructing sites that are attractive, not only for the folks driving by and looking at it every day, but also for the residents who are going to be living there. For the record, right next door is an affordable housing project. Just to the north of this project is Hemet Vistas. Palm Communities owns that property. So, so we know how to build an attractive product in your community. And I think compared to some of the other market rate product in this community, this Palm Villas is going to stand out far and above. And in fact, I hope it impacts the competition a little bit so that it helps them go, wait a minute, I need to bring up my quality to match what's going to happen at Palm Villas if they're going to continue to justify the rents that they charge. Again, we have it, and this project is going to provide a lot of amenities. We've talked about the community space. There's also going to be playground equipment for two different age groups, for younger children, say up to 10 or 12 years old, but it's mostly geared for children 5 to 8. and then there's going to be a more for older children, the teenager types. There'll be a ball court, so there'll be basketball as well as a product that we're starting to put into our communities called foosball, which is basically soccer on a hard court, and it's also a smaller court. But hey, I played basketball on a half court in my driveway, so I think kids can probably play soccer on a half court. It'll have nets. So there'll be amenities there. We do have picnic areas for folks to use as well. And we're providing a high degree of services. I kind of mentioned them before, but we are going to be providing classes and services to residents. A portion of the population are going to be, will be focusing on renting to families who are at risk or currently homeless at the time that they rent. Obviously, as soon as they come to live with us, they're no longer homeless because they'll have a place to stay. But we will be providing additional services to those families as well if they need it, to help them with basic things like household budgeting and planning and other connection to services that might be provided with the county that they might be eligible for. These are not things that you would normally get. Any of the services provided to the residents are not normally what you would be able to obtain if you were in a market rate apartment. Yes, maybe we are asking for some smaller setbacks. Some of the open space might be a little bit less, but that allows the project to get the type of density that we're looking for at a cost that we can develop at, but then also maintain for the long term. I have to emphasize that the rents that we are charged are derived from and come directly from the state. We don't get to determine what our rents are. And so we have to make those properties, and this property in particular, operate effectively and efficiently on the rents that we are able to charge. And so in order to do that, we need to be efficient in our development and in our design. So it's very important that we're able to do that. So that's some of the rationale for the requests for the concessions that we have made.
What income levels are you shooting for?
As I indicated earlier, folks between 30 and 60% of the county AMI. So it's probably going to be under $50,000 for a family of 4 and less.
So this would be low income and very low income families?
It's low and very low.
Okay.
Yeah, actually extremely low. 30% of area median income by the state standard is considered extremely low.
When it comes to extremely low income households, is there still a formulaic equation where maybe like extremely low income one extremely low income household counts as 2 on your arena? That's still.
That would be nice.
Boy, it's been a while since I used to be a city employee and worked with RENA, but I'm not sure. I defer to staff.
If you could get some extremely low income households in there, I think that would be very, very helpful for the city.
I believe, how many percent?
Yeah,
Percent?
anybody that's homeless.
Oh, I'm sorry. So if half the project is stipulated to be at 30%.
Okay. The other question I had was regarding affirmatively furthering fair housing and whether or not the census tract in which the project is located is a disadvantaged community.
We were discussing that. It's not to our knowledge, it's not a disadvantaged community. It is in the DDA though, isn't it?
It's in a QCT, qualified census tract.
Okay. So it's a qualified census tract, but not a which is a little bit different. The state has different criteria, and as you know, you were trying to pour through several hundred pages of density bonus law. So it's a qualified census tract, which is important to us from a financing point of view. We do get a significant amount, probably 60% of the revenue is going to, the funds that we need to develop it are coming from tax credits, and the tax credits are issued to us as a developer by the state in a competitive process, and then we turn around and we sell those credits to an investor. And that's where a big chunk of the development cost is paid for, is from the investment from the investor by buying those tax credits. And so by having the project located in a qualified census tract, we're qualified to request more tax credits than we would if we weren't. So it's important to us from a financing perspective that we're in there. But to your question about affirmatively affecting fair housing, I'm not sure where you're going, what you're asking of me. I know that we practice that. We have to practice that because of the regulations that the state put on us.
If the census tract were a disadvantaged tract and we're putting this number of affordable units into one project, the concern would be an over-concentration of affordable housing in a disadvantaged tract. So there are state, I don't know if they're rules, regulations, or what you might call them, that discourage the over-concentration of affordable housing in disadvantaged communities. Rather, they should be spread out citywide so that they're not, this is the low-income section and this is the haves and the have-nots. We need to avoid that as well, and any appearance thereof.
I certainly understand that and concur with that rationale. I do know that the city itself has taken great pains and looked into this site in particular as a designated area for affordable housing. We certainly encounter this in communities that we get into where people will come to a public hearing and say, we think affordable housing is very important, but not here at this site. It's for whatever reason. But a couple of years ago, the city, both the Planning Commission and the City Council, took actions to change the zone of this site. This site was not always an R3. It was just done 2 or 3 years ago. So there was quite a bit of thought and conversation about whether or not we should, the city should be putting affordable housing at this site, or multifamily housing at this site. And at the time, while it's just while it was a zoning decision that was taken, it was pretty clear, because I was at those hearings, that, and we owned the site at that time, that we were clear about what our intent were for developing the site. So I think the city has examined that question that you have, and it was not an issue a couple of years ago.
Okay. One more question for you. Sorry.
Sure.
With respect to the actual site plan and the layout of the site, I was here for the community event where we were discussing the potential for the grant,
Yes.
the
Affordable housing.
Repeat, but that's not the right word. But so the transit center, the affordable housing project, and the bike paths.
Bike and a pedestrian
Bike and
lane that's going to go
pedestrian
down
path,
the railroad.
So when I was
right away.
pouring through all these new legislative requirements for affordable housing, I discovered something I was not aware of before. And with a project like this, if you're within a half a mile of a major transit hub, which was proposed through this grant, and hopefully the city will attain that and build that station, you could add, under the new statutes, up to 3 stories to each of these buildings that you're planning to put on site. So I'm curious, being that you qualify for a density bonus, why didn't you guys go for it?
That's a great question, and it's not a question that we get asked often, I must tell you. And your question is similar to what the city manager asked of us when we first came in to inform him about the project. He says, why aren't there more units? Usually we get, why do you have so many units on your project? Frankly, we came in and have been talking with staff for a couple of years, and granted there have been some changes in leadership at all levels of the city, And we came in with a product that we've built before, we're building now. We know how to build it efficiently and effectively, and thought, based on our experiences in other communities, that what we were proposing would be consistent with what a neighborhood might want and need. So as opposed to building 6 stories and having that morning sun get shadowed to the folks to the west because we're building, you know, a tall tower, was something that we weren't interested in doing at that time. Also, larger projects become somewhat harder to finance overall, and so the size of this project was something that we were comfortable with. I'll tell you that the site probably will be able to accept additional units there, and I don't know if that map can be brought back up or not, but there is a portion of the property located that fronts along Menlo that's currently in a flood zone, but the county is working with the city to have that portions of the community removed from the flood zone, and that would impact our site. Normally, we don't like to leave large swaths of property undeveloped, but we were having some difficulty trying to figure out how to ensure property in a flood zone. And it wasn't until we needed to submit this application to the city to bring before you that we had found out that there was some changes afoot. Otherwise, I think we would have proposed more development, and I'm talking about the properties or the area in green at the bottom of the page. Those are currently in a flood zone and not being developed and not part of this development. But we'd like to develop it in the future if it gets out of the flood zone. But because we knew we were applying for the Affordable Housing Sustainable Communities Act, that's the application that that we talked about at that community meeting on the 31st. We needed to get our application in and allow staff enough time to review it so that we could get approved by this application that we're applying for is due on the 19th of March. So we're here at the end of February, and they have moved heaven and earth, and we appreciate it for them to be able to process this application in the time frame that they did. So we'll probably want to come back in the future and talk about the opportunity to develop those areas that are currently in the flood zone.
Okay.
And if there's interest, we possibly could go a little higher if there's interest on the part of the city, and we feel we could finance it. Maybe a 4th story. I don't know. I don't think 6 is in our wheelhouse for this particular site.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Any other questions for the applicant
I do have a question for you.
before I close the public hearing?
So, as a teacher, mother, these are kids that need homes and need stability. So, smoke-free, is that pretty much, are the apartments all smoke-free, or do you have to have a percentage? What are you going to do about the tots and lots and smoke, alcohol, drug use? How is this facility going to protect the kids that are the most vulnerable? Because on the outside, there's a lot of stuff there. And you technically could be in a drug-free zone, being affordable housing, being so close to various entities. How are you going to protect the kids?
So, in terms of smoke-free, yeah, we have a smoke-free facility. People will go out on their patios and smoke, but if there is a problem, or if we detect or find out that people are smoking, then they're subject to our site regulations and possible. If you're not following the rules, you're invited to leave. We're pretty emphatic about that. In fact, our house rules exceed our lease agreements. It's really important for two major reasons. One, we believe strongly that families have the right to have a safe, quality, enjoyable living experience like anybody else does. Number two, it makes good business sense. We don't want people on our properties causing trouble and causing problems. It makes no sense for us, and usually if you let bad behavior go on, it's going to cost in real dollars and cents. Whether they're destroying property or harming others who might complain to us about it and take further steps. We have a gated community. That's what we're proposing here. That's what we have right next door. And so it's important to us to control who comes onto our property. Because we have a certain amount of control within the boundaries. We have less control outside, but we do want to control who can enter and who can't enter. We have been in recent past and currently now on a project that we're building in Wildomar. We're stepping up our security, adding a lot more security cameras. We typically evaluate each property and we'll add as necessary actual physical or human security personnel who would patrol the property to do that. We're actually having to do that now. Just once a week we have somebody go out there to check the property because we've had campers on our side and other folks causing problems. So that they just let us know so that we can get out there and try to clean it up.
So are these people vetted basically for criminal?
Yes.
Okay, so you're protecting the children from potential harm by criminals that have a history of molestation or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause
Again,
that's
it doesn't.
a population that
it-
is full of it.
I'm sorry.
That's a population that has a lot of criminal activity in their past, but when you have a child in the center of affordable housing, I don't care. Protect the child, because that's our future. And this affordable housing is providing them stability that they may not have known before. And so that's why I'm asking criminally, we're protecting the kids.
Right. Well, we certainly do. We do criminal background
Okay.
checks on everybody. I mean, I would hope that any market rate or any apartment complex would do the same thing, because children live at apartments everywhere. And so I concur with you that it's important that children, as well as all residents in our properties, are and can feel that they're safe. So it's not only important that they are safe, but that they feel
Yes.
safe on property as well.
Yes.
Which is why we do provide the gated community environment. We're emphatic about you can have visitors, but it better
Right.
a friend of a resident can't stay there forever if they're not on the lease. Only people who are on the lease and their children can stay in the in our units. Again, it doesn't make sense for us from a business perspective, because it's going to cause problems and eventually cost. But yeah, I mean, so this is a place where human and economic kind of interests kind of come together, and it really does make sense. So again, things that we're doing too is that we do offer an after-school program to children. So it's a voluntary thing, but it's usually the most popular program that we offer on our sites.
It's a good resource.
And we have wonderful nonprofit service providers that we work with that work with the kids and have been doing a fabulous job next door. And we're actually talking. We've been so busy trying to get this approved that the librarian here has even asked me. She goes, I want to partner with your after-school program, and so I need to connect because we want to start over next door, and then we'll have a program in place.
Have
so
a
when
homework club.
we can roll into it too. So we're looking for ways always to partner with the community, and it was great that the librarian reached out to me directly.
Yes.
I have a couple easy questions for you, probably, since all the tough questions pretty much been answered. RTA, is there an RTA stop there at the facility, not in, but on the side, in the sidewalk? Is there a stop where they can get an RTA pickup right there?
So there's one just south of Menlo on State Street,
Okay.
on our side, on the west side, and then right across the street by the liquor store on the west. I'm sorry, did I say it? I'm backwards. So on the east side by the liquor store, there's a bus stop, and then on the west side of the street, south of Menlo, right by the trailer park, there's another bus stop.
Short walking distance. It's gated community, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then another question I have that some of the locals are concerned about is once the facility is done, they're concerned that, and we had that community gathering here, and that question was brought up about how many locals are you going to allow to stay in that facility in the area here that need or that qualify. Some people worry that you're going to get a lot of outsiders in here and not allow some of the locals to have their chance to get their opportunity in there. So what is your primary focus on our local community filling those apartments?
Sure. Well, let's go back to affirmatively. What was the term? Is it fair housing, right? Affirmatively.
AFFH for
yeah,
short.
yeah. We are not allowed to discriminate based on where you started your application, where you lived at the time that you made your application. So we can't deny anybody a right to live there, say if they live in Moreno Valley, Los Angeles, or relocating all the way from Mississippi or parts they're in. People need to be documented. They need to be income qualified. But let me tell you this, we don't advertise. And I stated that, I don't know if it was in the group that you were in, but for the benefit of the audience, we don't advertise. We don't need to advertise. We put up a sign on the when we start construction. It says, oh, yeah, this is Palm Villas, and who's all involved. The city will be involved, the state agencies. And we'll put a phone number and a website. We're getting a little more techie now, and we might have a QR code so you go someplace and you can get on an interest list.
Okay.
And when we start, it's not a waiting list, it's an interest list. So that's where we start when it's time to begin the lease-up processes. We'll go to that interest list and say, hey, you got on this interest list. Are you still interested in living at Palm Villas? If so, yes, okay, then we send you out an application. And we respond to applications on a first-come, first-served basis. But we don't tell anybody in LA or Moreno Valley or San Bernardino, hey, we've got units for rent. We don't need to. This is going to be a great looking product, and it's going to be at below market rate. So people will probably, we typically have waiting lists of anywhere from 200 to 700 individuals after we've leased up. So it'll be quite popular, and it's our goal, although we can't limit other people, as I mentioned, it's our goal to want to lease to people in the community.
Thank you. Sure. Any other questions for the applicant before we close public hearing?
No.
Nope. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll close public hearing. Okay. I do have one question for staff. Can I just ask the staff, or have to reopen that? Because I didn't get my chance to question, but a lot of questions got answered. On the part where state and repaving the road, it mentions that the applicant will take care up to half of the street. So the other half that needs to be reslurried and redone has Public Works been in discussion with them so that we can kill two birds with one stone and make the little road look nice when it's done? Or are we gonna have a half-paved road and a half-paved old road?
So the applicant is required to provide their half-street improvements. However, the applicant is also applying for a grant that, if awarded, would improve both sides of the road. However, that's not part of this current proposal now, but if they did, there's an opportunity for them to construct both sides of the road on Menlo. And right now, the proposal is only to improve the half-street on State as required by code.
So it's not promised, that's if they qualify for that grant to do the whole road?
Yes, so if they qualify for the grant, they would improve all of Menlo. And that's a larger project. But for the purpose of this project, they are required to provide half-street improvements to the center line on Menlo and State. So they'll be improving both half-street improvements on both State and Menlo as required by this application.
And in case that grant doesn't work and the city has to be responsible, will they fix that road so at least it's a redone road, it's out of the list of things to do, or is it just gonna be half and half?
Yeah, that's a great question. Typically, it's a triggering event, or it would be part of our CIP priorities for road improvements. Yes.
Okay. And with that, we will ask for a motion.
Excuse me, isn't
Be-
there supposed to be public comment now?
Oh, we'll do. Where's my, there it is. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and open up the public hearing. And please state your name.
My name is Gina Estrin, and I'm the administrator for Citizen Advocates for Seniors and Homeless Solutions. I'm also a member of the Riverside County COC, a voting member. I've been active investigating, finding ways to help the homeless because due to circumstances, I'm like this close to out on the street before, and that's why I moved here. I lived in LLA. All the little questions, first of all, I have to apologize. I forgot to put my hearing aids in, and it's been really hard to understand what was being said and what the questions were, but I tried to catch keywords. And I wanted to address some of those. One came up about something about the traffic turning right or left. There's the Riverside County facility there, and their driveway goes out to the State Street. And is that under restriction? Okay, well then I personally think it's not fair that this community would have to be under that restriction without them being under that, because you're talking about traffic patterns. Plus, I really investigated this particular property almost when I first moved here 6 years ago, because I thought it was a great place for a homeless community resource center. And why? Because there were no nearby residents, there were no nearby schools, and in terms of, I went and took pictures. There's a driveway on Menlo, so I don't know if the project blueprints are already, solid, but a suggestion would be, instead of entering to satisfy your thing, instead of exiting and entering from State, do it on Menlo. So that would, because Menlo is fairly dead in terms of traffic. Then there was, pardon me, you mentioned, sir, that they've been working for years at the city council and city manager and they changed the zoning. when I first came here, that was one of the stumbling blocks that prevented me from trying to go further with the project I had in mind. Okay. And I'm very glad to hear that they did. It's a different facility, but it's kind of still under what I'm championing, because like I said, seniors and homeless. I'm a senior. I live in a restricted type community. I mean, we have our rules and regs, and all this discussion about, you know, will this happen or that happen? I think most large community builders and owners and so forth are aware and usually come up with some very common sense regulations. So I don't think your fear is justified that all of this is going to be a trouble. Liquor stores, you mentioned. Yes, I noticed even when I was looking at the project, the liquor store across the street and then the liquor store down a block. I mean, you don't have to, I mean, are you going to restrict them from building next to a market because a market sells liquor? You know, that's a little bit not smart. Sorry. Why did I say it's not smart? We need the affordable housing. As I mentioned, I know about budget problems. And the past 6 years here, the number of homeless and the number of homeless seniors has skyrocketed. And it's not just my observation. I have been researching demographics and many other things. I brought my laptop thinking I'd quote you some of them, but not happening. But basically,
Excuse me.
Riverside County is expanding. Okay.
You have 3
One more
minutes.
minute?
Yeah, well, your time's up. You have 3 minutes. You can wrap it up, though, if you like.
Okay, just, if you look at the statistics, all of Riverside County needs affordable housing. Our area, because of the way we're built around with mountains and so forth, we're kind of isolated. So everything that we're talking about now to build here is something they've already built around here. Again, with working with the COC and the Riverside University Health System, I know of there are other communities that are being built. They're being out in the desert. They're being, well, Riverside City is capitalizing on it. They have built like 5 of them or something. And right now there's other things. It's such a positive thing that has come up with this affordable housing. And even, you know, the rent situation, I mean, middle class is no longer middle class because of rents and because of food and because of gas and so forth. And it's kind of like I understand your personal emotional feelings. I don't want a drunkard coming near my house or whatever, but you can't stop it. And last but not least is I know that Hemet has been very upset, the city government, the people in the city, about all the homeless out on the streets. Well, here's the thing. You might have them arrested, so for a few days they're off the streets, but they are citizens here as well. If just like you feel an attention, a connection to the community, they have that same connection. In my trying to place people, they don't want to leave our valley. I don't want to leave the valley now that I've been here. So we need to bring more in.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Hernandez, is there any other public comments or e-comments?
I don't show anyone online requesting to speak, and I did not receive any e-comments.
None? Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and close public hearing. Any discussion for the commission?
Well, yeah, actually. So I kind of agree with Commissioner Papp that I like this project. I like what the applicant has done here. I think it's a great plan. But we've got Commissioner Clark's issue about the traffic analysis. Has that been resolved on your end? I don't
No.
understand what's.
No, they have to have the fire on the Menlo side. You know, that's the dedicated fire, so there's not a way to switch that. And my concern is not to prohibit. My concern is for safety, the safety of the people exiting and entering the facility, because it's very congested. So,
Well,
you know, if we're not gonna do,
Ma'am, hey, ma'am, this is our time, please.
Public comments.
Public comments closed.
Yeah, thank you.
so, I'm willing to let it go, because I do believe that this is a good, but asking if a right turn could be the suggested route, because going left is going to be a nightmare. We know that.
Okay.
So
Are you
let it
making a
go.
motion here? or
Just
what's-
let it go.
Let it go?
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you.
Okay, if you're gonna let that go,
Mhm.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution for site development review 23-008, tentative parcel map 38-450, map 23-009, and variance 23-002, as illustrated in the development plan shown in attachment number 1, exhibits 1BA through 1BG, subject to conditions of approval outlined in exhibit 1A. And 2, direct staff to file a notice of exemption with the county clerk and state clearinghouse.
We have a second.
I second.
Mr. Hernandez, maybe have roll call, please?
Commissioners, please announce your vote when I call upon you. Commissioner Clark,
Did you say, yes?
Commissioner Ochoa,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Vice Chair Papp,
Yes.
Chair Beamsterfer.
Yes.
And that motion passes 5-0.
Okay. With that, we're going to move on to item 6B, site development review 23-002 and lot line adjustment 23-005. Senior planner Villarella.
I'm going to tell our IT team to bring up the slides.
I figured that they had done it on March 19th. I know, but if you want to see this go, go to Benefit, because it is, it's worth it. I just see what the traffic is.
There we go. Good evening, Chairman Beamsterfer.
Good evening.
The item before you tonight is for a site development review 23-002 and lot line adjustment 23-005. For National Tube Supply. This project, apologize, I don't know which, there we go. Oh. There we go, sorry. This application is from, proposing a, merge of two lots, two vacant lots, and develop a new 89,317 square foot industrial warehouse in a 5.76 acre property. This project, as I mentioned, it entails a site development review as well as a lot line adjustment. The aerial identifies the subject property, and you can see, sorry, maybe I'm too far from the laser beam. Identifies the existing property that is vacant and all the surrounding uses, which are most of the industrial uses. The property has a land use designation as a business park and is shown as general manufacturing, as shown on the following slide. This this slide represents the architectural style that was presented by, and created by the applicant, in which identifies the color selection, the architectural articulation, the design, focal point that was created by the offices located in the center of the development, as well as the architectural treatments that was accomplished by the window treatment on the two-story office design. With it as well, the design really does a great job in screening the roll-up doors that are identified or are shown on the front elevation. And that is accomplished by the selection of the color scheme that was selected for the project. Also, this project will have a maximum height of 45 feet and 6 inches. This project is going to be a two-phase, developed in two phases. The first one will identify the original development, as I mentioned, of 89,317 square feet, and it will be followed by a future proposed phase 2, which will be taking place on the western side of the proposed development. That again will be on a phase 2 proposal, not as part of this project yet. This site plan identifies the location where the landscape will be located and the circulation for the project. These are the two existing lots that will be merged as part of the entitlement. The project is identified on this slide shows that the circulation for the vehicles of large tracks that will be servicing the facility will be entering on and exiting on the east side entryway, and their circulation will be internal, and again, the exiting on the eastern exit. There will be vehicular accessibility for small cars at both entrances of the proposed project. On this phase 1 site plan elevation, you can see the proposed landscaping that will be provided for the complete site, and leaving or identifying the proposed future extension that will be taking place on the western side of the development. However, at this point of the development, the landscaping will be provided to meet all the requirements, which also includes a landscaping that will be along the side of the eastern side of the elevation of the building. Phase 2 identifies the proposed landscaping that will be extended or the ones that will be removed from the previous slide, as you can see from the proposed development. And once the future extension does take place, the landscaping will be extended to the perimeter of the proposed building. The site development for this project is consistent with City General Plan. as well with the zoning development standards and design guidelines. The design and improvement are physical, suitable for the type of the development. The project is also in compliance with the CEQA exemption. And the notice was posted and listed on February 6th. Until this date, we have not received any comments from the public. The staff recommends that the Plan Commission adopts the attached resolution as well, subject to the conditions of approval, and direct staff to file the notice of exemption with the Riverside County clerk. This concludes the staff's presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. Also, sorry, I'd like to add that the applicant also has a slide presentation that we'd like to present.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Does commissioners have questions for the staff?
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
I noticed that National Tube Supply's got maybe 4 or 5 different locations across the United States as well as Canada. The nearest one being in Moreno Valley. What's happening to the location of Moreno Valley? Is that one being closed down, or is this just an extension of it?
That's more for the applicant. Yeah,
So we're closing Moreno Valley and opening up in Hemet.
we'll have to do that during a public hearing for the applicant.
You might want to save that question for the applicant when they come up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll
Any
ask the same
questions for
question
the
when we come
staff?
up.
Yeah.
Well, I do, yeah. So it's always me, I guess. I'm curious, you mentioned that the project conforms to the design guidelines. Is there anything in the design guidelines that talk about movement and roof plane? Because it's a very single roof plane going all the way across. There's no variation whatsoever in the roof plane. Curious to know if there are any requirements for that. And also in the wall planes, I only saw movement in the main entryway. There was a large pop out. I'm assuming that's the main entryway. The remainder of the building, I don't see much of any movement going on the wall spaces.
That is correct. The design guidelines for industrial development are very limited. And so the way that the project has been addressed to enhance or provide architectural treatments to the proposed building is by the scoring on the tilt-up walls and color coordination to create an effect on the wall planes. And yes, as you mentioned, and that was something that was discussed with the applicant as well, that the articulation that is being proposed is only occurring on the front elevation where the offices are taking place. But yes, yeah, I understand your concern.
And is that front elevation facing Wentworth Street?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I have some questions about the conditions of approval. Specifically, I'd like to focus on the fire department. I'm curious to know, because I didn't see anything in the conditions regarding if there's going to be any kind of chemical storage on site. Is this just strictly a warehousing and distribution facility, or will there be any cutting of any kind done on site? And if so, will there be any kinds of lubricants or coolants used? And if so, what type of amounts are we talking about? How will they be stored? I didn't see anything in the conditions. Again, I may have missed it. This is a lot of information to take in a few days. Will there be any kind of high stack of any steel material? Will there be indoor stacking and racking, or will there be outdoor storage? And I wasn't quite clear as to the operations, but I'm assuming that the applicant's PowerPoint presentation might explain some of these things.
Sorry. Yes, I will refer those questions to the applicant. I did address those questions too as well, and I'm sure they will be answering, providing more direction on that.
Okay, and then for staff, the CEQA determination that it's exempt because the project conforms to the previously adopted environmental impact report, which was done approximately 12 years ago. I am a little bit concerned about the number of projects that have been approved by the city along the Sanderson corridor since that amount of time, including a recent very large warehousing facility in excess of 800,000 square feet. I'm curious about whether or not there might be any cumulative impacts to traffic because of all this additional truck movement on Sanderson Avenue.
At this time, it falls under that category from the adoption of 2012.
Was there a traffic analysis prepared for this project?
Yes, there was.
Okay. What were the
Yes.
conclusions of it?
They made the level of service.
If I could also, if I may add to that, Commissioner, this was evaluated with a VMT, vehicle miles traveled analysis. And because the trip generation generates less than 500 daily vehicle trips, is considered less than significant, further analysis would not be required for this project based on the thresholds for vehicle miles traveled.
Thank you for that. I understand that, but my concern would be the cumulative impacts of recent projects that have been approved. So is this a project-specific VMT, or did it consider cumulative projects?
That is a great question. This, as I understand, this is a project that analyzed the project within of itself. However, to be consistent with the general plan, and the applicant is here this evening also that can further describe that the general plan cumulative impacts, the general plan already identified the surrounding areas that are industrial. So for example, the industrial development that was previously approved, the general plan already identified the capacity, the square footage or the size of the project. And so the applicant evaluated consistency with our general plan and also what the general plan assumed or the assumptions were for this property, which we can further discuss this evening. But this is a 15183 general plan consistency exemption.
Any other questions for staff? Vice Chair Papp, any other questions?
No more questions for me. Thank you.
Just a quick question in reference to trucks. It mentioned 5 truck drops. Is that per day or per hour? That they're gonna have 5 trucks
Per day. Per day.
per day?
Correct.
Okay, cause I agree as well with something that the city as a whole needs to kind of sit down and talk about Sanderson, because we have upcoming projects and a lot of traffic's gonna be coming on there, not necessarily impacting on them, but in the future. Scenic, the flat roof, you talked about that. Let's see, 20 employees, so it's gonna be, outside storage. Is it strictly, are they doing plastic pipes and metal pipes, or are they doing strictly plastic? Because if it's metal, I'd be concerned about the airport and the reflection of the sun. If it's not covered, I don't know if it's covered, but I do worry about the reflection, just like solar does when the sun's up at the right time of day. It can create a glare. And airport's right there, so it may not, they might have that covered. I don't know, maybe more for the applicant. But I don't have any other questions for staff. What? Thank you very much.
It was mentioned that they will have a maximum allowed 20% outdoor storage as permitted by the code. If they do choose to select outdoor storage, we'll make sure that to provide some screening to reduce any of the reflection. But yes, and the applicant will be elaborating more on the proposed storage.
Thank you very much. And with that, we'll go ahead and open up public hearing and have the applicant come up.
We'll have their presentation loaded.
Pardon me?
We're gonna have their presentation loaded as well.
I'll have a presentation as well.
Yes.
Monique, are they gonna put is this thing on? Okay, great, thank you.
There we go.
Oh, perfect. Great. My name's Charlie Sisikowski. I'm with EPD Solutions, and I'm representing National Tube Supply. I'm here with Rob Schmerin, who's been with National Tube for 30 years. He is currently the general manager of their Moreno Valley facility and their West Coast region as well. We just wanted to say thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak before the commission tonight. After several years of searching in California, especially for this facility, NTS has came to the conclusion that the city of Hemet was truly their best option for them to move their facilities to. From the favorable employee demographics, logistical location, and growth and vibrance of the community, Hemet is the ideal location for them. So I'll give that over to Rob to essentially talk about NTS and who they are.
Good evening. My name is Robert Smarin. I've been with National Tube 30 years, and I am currently the West Coast manager of the Moreno Valley facility. Just wanted to thank you for your time tonight. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about National Tube and what we do. National Tube aims to be the unparalleled market leader in the supply of all mechanical, tubular, and bar products across North America. NTS is known for their massive inventory, tens of thousands of tons between eight locations across North America. We strive to be recognized for operational excellence through sustainable, equitable, and socially responsible business practices. And also NTS focuses on safeguarding the sustainability of our business through commitment to continuous improvement of people, processes, and operations. So National Tube is wholly owned by the Bianco Group. The Bianco Group is based in Europe. The Bianco family has 22 locations in 10 countries throughout Europe, the US, and Canada. And this year they're currently celebrating their 50th anniversary in business. With 7 locations and over 200 employees in the US, we purchase steel tubing and bar direct from both mills in the US and abroad, and we sell to a variety of end users throughout the country. And what we focus on at this location is everything on the West Coast, west of the Rockies. So we cover a very large geographical area out of the one location. Our top markets include OEMs, machine shops, fabricators. Some of the products that our customers make include auto parts, hydraulic cylinders, lift gates. Any products involving lifts or hydraulic cylinders is a big market for us. We currently serve the western region from this location, and our lease, which is in Moreno Valley currently, and we will be moving all of our employees' equipment and inventory to the new location here in Hemet with your approval, and we'll be closing that Moreno Valley facility.
And to answer one of the questions previous, I think it was from the chairman, they will essentially, their operations consist of, bringing in the pipe, storing it on site as a warehouse. There are some limited cutting that happens on the site, essentially to fit to order for what their customers require, and then they are removed from site and delivered. Great. The existing project site is currently approximately 5.7 acres located along Wentworth Drive, just east of South Sanderson. The lot is currently vacant and undeveloped. The site has a general plan land use of business park and is zoned for heavy manufacturing M2. The proposed project is completely consistent with the zoning code and the general plan. Essentially, it's a permitted use fully within the zone. And so essentially we had worked with Monique and planning staff, and they deferred to Planning Commission for the final approval of this project. Great. The project site is currently vacant. It has historically been subject to trash dumping and junk. And so we're kind of proposing a new elevation along Wentworth Avenue, which you can see here, essentially what it was before and what the facility will be bringing to the area. The project not only meets but exceeds the mandated 10% landscaping requirement on the parking area by implementing a generous 12% of drought-tolerant landscaping. This ensures not only compliance but also shows NTS's commitment to sustainability and compliance with the California Green Building Code. The project features 24-inch box trees and a variety of shrubs with diverse sizes and heights. These elements will effectively help screen the project from the project's frontage along Wentworth. The project's development plans exceed the required exceed the required setback criteria along Wentworth Avenue. Specifically, we'll be providing a 53-foot setback to allow for functionality of the site and also provide just a better viewing area from Wentworth. The development plans also incorporate 2 employee amenities areas, one being a patio on the 2nd story of the office so that employees can go out, eat their lunch out there, have a good break from their time within the office. And then there's also an outdoor patio so that we can encourage individuals to go consume Jersey Mike's or Dunkin' Donuts across the street and bring it back on site and have a nice break outdoors. The project aims to improve site accessibility by incorporating 3 distinct driveways. The central driveway will be exclusively designated for passenger vehicles, facilitating a smooth entry and exit to the site with no commingling of trucks. The secondary driveway, positioned towards the western side, will serve as a dedicated ingress and egress for truck traffic. This ensures that there's ample queuing on site to ensure that there's no queuing along Wentworth Avenue. The most western driveway is solely reserved for emergency vehicle access. For truck traffic, so NTS operations anticipate no more than 5 inbound and outbound trucks daily. The project essentially supplied a focused traffic impact analysis and a traffic trip generation, utilizing a conservative analysis comparing the operations on site to the ITE warehouse trip rates, and no deficiencies were identified in that report. And we do have our traffic consultant here today who can come and talk to your concerns that you previously vocalized. The project will utilize designated truck routes. Essentially, it will go up, the trucks will go up Sanderson to SR 74 and SR 79. For infrastructure improvements, the project will incorporate half-width improvements along the public right-of-way on Wentworth Drive. We did drive the project site earlier, and you can kind of see in this photo, but the adjacent or retail area did their half-street improvements as well, which is still within pretty good condition. And so we would meet their half-street to create a pretty, a nice full Wentworth expansion there. The project will also be adding a new 5-foot sidewalk along with curb and gutter installations. It will be providing for the entire site's frontage along Wentworth. This will enhance accessibility and safety for pedestrians while improving the aesthetic appeal of the area. The project will feature parkway landscaping complete with an irrigation system and the installation of street trees, all selected through the city's municipal code requirements. Planning staff already kind of discussed that we're looking at the potential of a future expansion for this project. Essentially, the proposed project incorporates a second phase of an additional 17,280 square feet of warehousing space. The expansion would increase the total building size to the 106,597 square feet. And the expansion is planned to accommodate growth needs, particularly in terms of warehouse storage capacity. If it's determined that the expansion is needed, it will be executed at a later date, aligning with the operational demands of the facility. The expansion was completely analyzed within the 15183 consistency document as a second phase, so it is fully covered by the CEQA document prepared. That concludes my presentation. However, I did note that there was a couple questions that you guys had previously that I would like to identify and speak to. I know one of them was about the fire department and kind of what's going to be the anticipated use. Kind of got into that a little bit, but obviously cutting steel and metal pipes requires some sort of lubrication. All of the necessary permits will be filed for with the fire department in terms of that. There's not much stored on site, but obviously based on the operations there will be, and the appropriate avenues will be taken to obtain those permits from the fire department. Not only that, we also talked about some pile storage. I don't know the exact limits of the racking plan as of today, but again, we'll be working with the fire department to ensure that all the necessary permits are obtained. For traffic, I will let Alex come and step in, but I wanted to briefly touch base on the outdoor storage portion. So per the code, as an accessory use, there is, we are allowed to essentially hold some outdoor storage. For this type of facility, we'd be looking at storing some of the pipe material and we have worked with planning because we do understand that, this is a project that we want to bring to the city of Hemet and have it look nice. We don't want storage running around on the frontage along Wentworth. Essentially, we'll be doing all of the outdoor storage to the rear of the facility. It'll be completely screened from Wentworth Avenue, and we will be providing the necessary screening requirements to ensure that anyone from Sanderson would not be able to view that either. Great. Any questions for me? I know that we had a couple traffic ones that Alex can step up and answer as well.
Just curious, do you have site control over the small remainder parcel to the immediate east of you?
I don't believe so.
We do not own that.
Okay, thank you.
I believe a restaurant tried to go in there and they retreated from that corner, didn't they?
There was a Rally's Burger just to the south of that site, but not on that particular corner.
Okay.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you for coming to Hemet. Appreciate that.
Yeah, we're excited. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Mine was answered.
Well, I thank you for that presentation. It was a nice presentation.
Thank you.
You're great.
For staff, and I don't remember what it was. Oh, I do now. I have a question for staff, or you might be able to answer this. Regarding the half-street improvements to Wentworth, what would you say, with 5 trucks coming in a day, I'm gonna assume you're gonna want those loaded as handily as possible. What's the typical weight of one of your inbound trucks carrying a load of steel?
Oh, sorry. That's actually something Alex can answer.
Reason I'm asking, if you're gonna make a half-street improvement, I wanna ensure that the weight of the vehicles coming in is not going to cause that street to crumble, or the half-street improvements that were just done by the neighboring retail site.
Hello, commissioners. My name is Alex, and I'm with EPD Solutions as well. I did the air quality and traffic study for this report, and I took a picture for this exact question. So there are 3 types of trucks that were identified that could be coming to the site. The particular one that will be coming in and out each day for the site is what they call the rider trucks. And they're a 48-foot flatbed with 5 axles and can carry up to 40,000 pounds.
Would that be your heaviest vehicle?
Correct. The others are will calls, which are typically 2 to 3 axles and would be up to 26,000 pounds. And then all others would also be 2 to 3 axles up to 26,000 pounds.
Okay, thank you for that, because considering a fully laden fire truck weighs somewhere between 60 and 80,000 pounds, you should be okay.
And then I know you had questions about the cumulative analysis for the traffic study. I don't know if you would like me to address that now or later.
If you can, yes,
Okay.
because I am concerned. There's a 800,000 plus square foot warehousing facility just northeast of this proposed project, and it was discussed in that traffic study that most of the traffic will be going on Highway 74, with maybe 10% of the trips going northbound on Highway 79 and none going southbound on Sanderson Highway 79. What direction are your daily trips going to go? I mean, 5 trucks a day, it's not a major impact. I was expecting there to be considerably more trips, and maybe in the future the success of your business here will lend itself to that.
So we also have 100% of the truck trips heading north on Sanderson to the freeway, and then 85% utilizing the freeway with an additional 15% continuing north. We were provided the first quarter data from the Moreno Valley site of all of the daily trips that occurred there. So what we did was picked the most conservative day for each type of truck to do the kind of worst case scenario analysis. So our traffic study actually analyzed 50 trips for trucks a day, 25 inbound, 25 outbound, to provide the worst case scenario analysis. And that is what the that is what the LOS conclusions were based off of. And with that, we still, looking at the driveways as well as the intersection of Sanderson and Wentworth, met all the LOS criteria of LOSD or better. And we also did a queuing analysis for all of the movements on Sanderson and Wentworth. And the addition of our trips did not exceed any of the queue capacity.
Did you happen to do a queuing capacity analysis for the intersection of Sanderson and Florida, particularly a left-hand turn going westbound on Florida Avenue Highway 74?
So that was not within our study area due to the fact that typically intersections that have 50 or more trips added to it are included in LOS study. Our trips fall below 50 trips from our very conservative analysis after Sanderson and Wentworth. Therefore, study was not deemed necessary for our project trips.
I'm sorry to hear that. I wish your scope would have included that, because I think anybody in this room that's familiar with that intersection knows that it's difficult to even pull your sedan into the left turn lane to turn left onto Florida Avenue from Sanderson.
I would say, to help ease some of the concerns you may have, I did take a look at the increase in queue capacity and the increase in delay that our project added at Sanderson and Wentworth, which is 100% of our trip. So it would provide the most conservative analysis of how much it could potentially increase the queue. And the largest increase in queue was 9 additional feet, so less than 1 car trip. So given the amount of vehicles that we would be added to the intersection that you're concerned about, you would expect less than 9 feet added to it, which would be non-noticeable from a traffic perspective. And then the increase in delay was 0.4 seconds in the PM peak hour, which was the more impacted hour. So once again, our project trips would not be showing any real measurable effect on the queue or the delay at any intersection past Sanderson and Wentworth.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you. It might seem unfair that I'm kind of picking on you because you're the person in the room.
No worries.
But again, the cumulative impacts of projects are what I'm concerned about.
Yes.
And this is now the second warehouse facility since I've been on the commission that has gone through with a recommendation for exemption from the California Environmental Quality Act because it's consistent with the previously adopted general plan. But my overarching concern are the cumulative impacts of these projects and their impacts on key intersections and road segments that are going to bottleneck and congest our intersections. So it's not just your project. In fact, your project is like very little impact, clearly. But cumulatively, we may have a very large problem on our hands.
I understand that. And then I guess one last thing I can add to further try and ease as much concern as you may have as possible is we assumed that 100% of the PM trips that were for the Ryder trucks would occur during the peak hour. However, the actual schedule that is anticipated for the Ryder trucks for the morning is 4 to 6 a.m. prior to the peak hour occurring, and would expected to return from 2 to 5 p.m., which is typically before the peak hour and just at the start of it. And we assumed 100% of those trips would be returning during the peak hour in our analysis. Therefore, in reality, you would not anticipate that. You would anticipate them coming much earlier, between 2 and 5 p.m. Additionally, as stated, we assumed that it would be 25 inbound trips because we did the worst case scenario day. The project is going to be generating much less trips on a daily basis. So I believe that even with the potential cumulative impacts, this project particularly is going to not contribute as much as it could be because of the off-peak operational hours that are anticipated.
Great, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say I agree. I don't think that their traffic is going to, from what I can see, impact, but we have a problem potentially that we're staring at, and Sanderson is it. Actually, Stetson also, but mostly Sanderson. That's a terrible intersection. I don't know how we're gonna, our infrastructure needs to look at this. Because if it's another person like you coming before us, it's yet that same calculation that you gave that we're adding on. So, you know, I agree. You're probably not much impact-wise from what I could read, but
I completely agree. I mean, it's not necessarily towards you guys, but
Yeah.
it's something that Director Monique, something that we can come together as
Yeah.
possible city council and planning commission to discuss, because I know the site development review has more upcoming proposals of even
Yeah.
larger size buildings. And we know that's gonna be a problem, so that's something that I think,
Right.
not in this project, but on a side note, we need to sit down and have a discussion on, because 1000% it's gonna impact our streets and our roads.
Mhm.
But other than that, any other questions for the applicant before we close the public hearing?
No. Okay.
And with that, is there anybody on Zoom or any public comments before I close? Ms. Hernandez?
Yes. Chair, I don't show anyone online requesting to speak, and I did not receive any e-comments.
Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and close public hearing and ask for a motion. Okay, under the recommendation, we have to include after one as amended. The conditions of approval. Condition of approval as amended, not as provided. And with that, may I ask for a motion?
I don't know. Can you make that motion? We didn't hear what that was going on
Okay.
there.
So, it is to, under the recommendation pass one, it says conditional approval as amended, not provided.
Oh, okay. All right.
And with that, I'll go ahead and make a motion to adopt planning commission resolution attachment number 1, approving site development review SDR 23-002 and lot line adjustment 23-005, exhibit 1B, development plan exhibit 1C, environmental documents, subject to a condition of approval as amended, and direct staff to file a notice of exemption with the Riverside County Clerk and State Clearinghouse.
And I'll second.
And may we have roll call, please, Ms. Hernandez?
Absolutely. Commissioner Clark?
yes.
Commissioner Ochoa?
Yes.
Commissioner Hill?
Yes.
Vice Chair Papp?
Yes.
Chair Beamsterfer?
That's a yes.
And motion passes 5-0.
With that, we're going to move on to item 7A, City Attorney Report. City Attorney Layla?
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report. Item 7B, Community Development Reports. Director Monique?
Thank you, Chair Beamsterfer. The only thing I'd like to report is that we were able to confirm that the Planning Commissioners Academy coming up from March 6th through the 8th, we were able to reserve 4 spots for the Commissioners Academy, and we'd just like to confirm attendance for that, and we can make appropriate accommodations for 4.
When do you want the confirmation?
Yes, and then so far we've heard confirmation from Chair Beamsterfer, Commissioner Ochoa, and Commissioner Papp. So there would be one spot open.
Can I get back to you tomorrow? I will email you tomorrow, Monique.
Okay.
And Karina too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you. And item 7C, future agenda items, Director Monique.
We do have several items coming before you that they've been working through the pipeline, but JD Fields is one of those that we will have coming to you in the next few commission meetings. And that concludes my future agenda items report.
Okay, thank you very much. And now item 7D, Planning Commissioners reports, Director Monique.
Commissioner Clark?
I'm having a hard time hearing, sorry. Nothing, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ochoa?
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Hill?
So I was unclear on what was happening here with the traffic analysis, especially at Sanderson in Florida. Monique, did staff take action to look into that in some fashion?
So as I understood, based off of the discussion, I'm hearing there's an overall concern that there are existing impacts on Sanderson and the intersections that we need to take a look at. And when projects come forward in the future, which would be, potentially additional industrial development along the Sanderson corridor, to look at that proactively and to see if there is, what the cumulative impacts are, the traffic impact analysis will also identify any mitigations, such as signalization of certain portions of Sanderson. In the last project that we had that came before the commission, we had worked through that to ensure that there was no access on Kirby Street, and that we also worked with the applicant to ensure that there was internal access throughout the development. So we are looking at that. We are aware of the concerns, and I believe that our Public Works Engineering Division is also looking at other opportunities through grant funding to look at, safe streets citywide.
Okay. So since the Infrastructure Commission has been, I guess, consolidated to us, right?
That's correct.
Could we get the Public Works analysis reported to us in a staff report?
Yes, you will have reports from the city engineer, Public Works deputy, and city engineer will be coming to you with any capital improvement projects that are coming forward.
Okay.
You will have that information that will be brought to you. If there are any traffic analysis, now we will be looking at it more closely, moving forward with any additional development that's being proposed on Sanderson, because we are aware of the concerns expressed and that would need to be
Okay.
addressed.
Okay. Thank you, Monique. Nothing further.
Thank you. Vice Chair Papp?
Yes, I'd just like to take an opportunity to thank staff for your contributions to your staff reports, the effort that you put into your analysis, and would just like to point out that we very much appreciate you fielding tough questions. Sometimes we try to, I for one, try to get those to you prior to the meetings, but you all do a great job of acknowledging the questions and then answering them. I do appreciate that, and for the applicants that have been here, their consulting teams, very much appreciate your preparation and anticipation of perhaps some questions that might get asked. You did an awesome job of responding to those. I appreciate it. The reason I'm so vocal and ask so many questions is I want to make sure that the public understands that we're fully vetting these projects up here, and we're not just taking a look at words on paper and saying yes, yes, yes all the time. There are real concerns that are brought up and discussed, and for anybody who's watching now or might view these videos at a later date, just understand that we are trying to do our very best job to bring the very best developments to the city of Hemet. And that's all I have to say. I have nothing further to report.
Thank you. Chair Beamsdorfer?
Again, same thing to the staff, to thank them for their works, and it's a lot to absorb for all of us. And again, back to Commissioner Hill, I would definitely like to see something from Public Works and be proactive. You know, if we're gonna be doing all this construction, we should be proactive in fixing Kirby in advance. We should be proactive in fixing the streets instead of waiting till after the fact. And, you know, and just, I really think that council and planning commission should come together just in a special meeting to have just discussions on possible projects like this on Sanderson, because what I did see in the site development review is there's more coming, so we have to be proactive about this. And with that, nothing else to report. And with there nothing else, with no further business to discuss, the meeting is adjourned to the next planning commission meeting, scheduled March 5th, 2024 at 6 p.m.